Captain Glover takes advantage of the relaxation of protocol.
That's not very Regency, Miss Brown.
It's not the first time the captain has kissed Miss Lisa Braund.
Who told you that? Yes, he did try and kiss me. But, you know, he's a very tactile person anyway, so this whole hands-off stuff doesn't seem to work with Captain Glover. No, he's, yes. Twice, actually. At one point, Mrs. Hammond did turn around and went, "Are you kissing Captain Glover?" And I was like that. No, he's trying to kiss me.
From the start, Captain Glover has paid special attention to Miss Braund, a lady of modest means. With his prize money, of which she is unaware, he would be an excellent catch for her.
See you soon.
But Miss Braund's affections have lain elsewhere.
I really used to like Mr. Everett. And I know that he really liked Victoria, and Victoria wasn't interested, and there's a whole kind of triangle thing going on, and Victoria was trying to get me and Mr. Everett together. I mean, I really had a crush on him. I just thought, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And now I just think, no, he's a really nice bloke, but there's nothing more. Although, it's really quite funny, because me and Captain Glover had an argument just after the Mr. Everett thing. He did actually turn around to me and went, "Why can't you just get over Everett? Why can't you just get over him and fancy me?" And I went, "That would make it so much simpler, Captain Glover. The life would be much simpler if I could just fancy you." And we kind of went partied, and we weren't speaking very much the next day, and then he just kind of, I think it was, winked across the table at me. And I thought, OK, we're back to being friends again. It was great. And I think he's absolutely lovely, and we're really, really good friends. So part of me just thinks, oh, why don't you fancy him? He's so nice to me.
Come on, Chef. Come on, Chef.
So, is Miss Braund reconsidering her feelings for the tenacious Glover?
She was fantastic.
The day after the fair, as the ladies are eating nuncheon, the atmosphere is tense. For some weeks, there has been growing hostility between the hostess, Mrs. Rogers, and chaperone, Mrs. Enright. Mrs. Enright, with her charge, Miss Connick, form the lowest-ranking pair in the house.
She is the least important lady here. Her charge is the least important one, and she would be bending over backwards not to cause offence to me because she wants to stay here. Which actually just pisses me off. I mean, for God's sake, you know, she certainly lets everybody know how clever she is.
Mrs. Rogers made a very big thing of the status issue right at the beginning, and endeavoured, as I saw it, and her voice, her tone and body language convinced me that this is what she meant to do, to humiliate me on one or two occasions.
We're all doing the best we possibly can.
From the start, Mrs. Rogers and Mrs. Enright have not seen eye to eye. Weeks ago, they clashed over their respective charges.
You have tried to cast aspersions on her. I have not done that on your charge.
No, I haven't. I have been asked what I thought about her, and I said, I haven't meant to be rude to you. I have meant to be clear about my feelings. That is not rude.
It's all in the perception, I believe.
I have a particular character to deal with whose behaviour is irreproachable.
Oh, do stop saying that. It's getting terribly boring, madam.
Yes, and I'm getting tired of the generalisations which suggest that her behaviour is less than satisfactory. I have forgiven, forborne, tried to make bridges, and I have reached the end of my capability there now.
For goodness sake, we've got 12 days or 10 days left here. Why can't everybody just really enjoy those last 10 days without having something as pathetic as somebody's little vendetta, you know, ruining everything?
I have now got the very, very contemporary feeling. Make no mistake, this has nothing to do with 1811. How dare she despise me? Who does she think she is? Independently, she's a complete nobody, and I am somebody, and I am getting very close to telling her that.
The tensions between Mrs. Rogers and Mrs. Enright finally explode.
Mr. Everett, could you get someone to get Mrs. Enright a brandy? Get Mrs. Enright a brandy.
Of course.
How are you?
Jesus, did you hear that?
What's happened? You okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was all...
Come and sit down.
Yeah, well...
What's been broken?
A plate. Miss Hopkins has got a bad arm. Mrs. Rogers said, not unreasonably, that she would get Mr. Ball to see if he could get the doctor. So Mr. Ball was asked for and was apparently going to appear in a couple of minutes. Mrs. Enright said quite nicely, oh, I've been asking to see Mr. Ball all morning, meaning really, oh, good, I'll be able to talk to him. Mrs. Rogers said, I do think that someone else's help is more important than whatever request you might have or something. And Mrs. Enright just...
Mrs. Enright then said that she'd had enough of Mrs. Rogers, that she was going to pursue her to an early grave, that she was a foolish old woman, a crashing snob and something else, and she threw her plate up the room and walked out of the room. And Mrs. Rogers is naturally very shaken.
I have never broken any crockery over an argument before in my entire life. But if you put a prick in an animal's backside long enough, it'll eventually kick, won't it?
A little bit shaken, because I don't think anybody's ever behaved like that to me before.
This has been ongoing. This has been an onslaught going on and on and on every day. And it's horrible to watch and it's horrible to witness.
I didn't know what I've done wrong.
I've tried to avoid an uproar, tried to avoid losing my own dignity, which matters a good deal to me. But if you don't deal with these things, this is what happens. At the first attack, a bully has to be identified and warned immediately not to do it.
This all along has smacked in some way of bullying, and I can't bear that. And I can't bear unkindness at this level either.
I have a horrible feeling you might be asked to apologise to her.
I have a horrible feeling I might be asked to apologise to her.
And what will
I have an
happen
even
then?
more horrible feeling that we both might be asked to leave.
Well, I'm sorry if I've done that to you, Hayley.
Well, no, you had to do what you had to do. It's just something that just occurred to me just afterwards.
It's within the power of the hostess to ask Mrs. Enright to leave.
She could stop goading me.
And if she does, then her charge, Miss Connick, will have to leave too. Mrs. Rogers is comforted by her charge, the Countess.
It feels like being someone's second, doesn't it? Like, she's my chaperone. She's your chaperone, and it is kind of like you're the backup sort of support thing.
Well, it should be, but it's kind of working the other way around. I never, ever expected to chaperone my chaperone.
We all chaperone our chaperones.